Jamal Abdi is president of the National Iranian-American Council. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us. On that issue of the European reaction, I mean, there's been kind of concern expressed, but at what point do you think they will take the next step?
I don't know that Europe is thinking about drawing those red lines. Iran does have a number of steps it can take to further escalate. And it seems clear that Iran has made the decision that they're pivoting towards escalation after essentially sitting on their hands for over a year and waiting for Europe to come up with some mechanism to enable Iran to actually see the sanctions relief that was promised under the deal. I think that for Iran, this is a major concession that is now no longer being taken up by Iran. They could very well, as the presenter just said, begin enriching to a level of nuclear fuel closer to weapons grade. And I think the absolute worst case scenario would be for Iran to actually leave the non-proliferation treaty, kick out the inspectors who are right now on the ground verifying that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and then we have no eyes or ears on the ground to know what Iran is doing as far as its nuclear program.
Given all that, could this escalation by Iran actually end up backfiring on them? Because we've heard from the White House already that they've said they'll never allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons.
Well, we already see the escalation on the U.S. side backfiring, I think, on the White House. But for Iran, I think that they're playing a pretty dangerous game. I think that Iran is trying to find a balance between raising the pressure on the United States, ensuring that the United States doesn't just have a free hand to punish Iran without seeing some pressure from the Iranian side, and raising the pressure for Europe. And I think they want to do that in a way that doesn't actually trigger the Europeans, who are right now trying to protect this deal and trying to figure out a way to give Iran these benefits, to move over to the United States side. And I think that's the balance that Iran is attempting to strike, both with the nuclear program and with some of these escalations that we've seen in the Persian Gulf on the military side of things. It's this balance of not going so far as to give the U.S. once again the upper hand in this standoff.
I mean, I suppose it's always a matter of calibration, isn't it, when you're escalating something? And is there any way back from this particular escalation?
Well, all of these things that Iran has done on its nuclear program are reversible. And I think the Iranians have made it fairly clear that they're not going to negotiate under pressure. They're not going to negotiate as their economy is under these massive nuclear sanctions, but have indicated that if the sanctions were to ease, these reversible moves could be reversed. The question is, does the White House actually understand that message, and do they want to actually de-escalate? My view is that the folks driving this policy in the White House deliberately triggered this latest move and are trying to draw Iran into doing more radical things so that the U.S. can actually increase its pressure campaign. You have to remember that these uranium stockpiles, Iran was actually exporting them so that they wouldn't rise above that threshold, and the U.S. slapped sanctions on the export. So Iran doesn't actually have an option to export this stuff to stay below that threshold. So what that means is the U.S. has actually sanctioned Iran into noncompliance. So they know exactly what they're doing.
Jamal Abdi, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts on the subject. Appreciate your time.